This kind of money's a lot of my ballpark.
Well, we got this WT9000 Ford down here I was telling you about. We had to repossess it. The boy couldn't keep his payments up on it. But for the kind of money we're talking about on it, ought to be able to make you a pretty good piece of equipment. It's got a NTC 350 Cummins in it, RTO 9513 transmission.
Still talking about an awful lot of money.
Talk it over with your missus and see what she thinks. And I tell you what, I'd even throw in a paint job of your specification just to help you young folks out.
Welcome to the Cinematic Flashback Podcast. Get ready to hop into the Wayback Machine as we journey through the wild, bold, and unforgettable films of the 1970s. Each episode, we break down a classic movie or forgotten gem, seeing how it performed then and now, and wrapping things up by asking, did it groove through the decades or did it lose its beat? I am your host, Chuck Bryan, and today we are reviewing Jonathan Kaplan's 1975 film, White Line Fever, starring Jan-Michael Vincent, L.Q. Jones, Kay Lenz, and Slim Pickens. This is our first film in our Keep on Truckin' month, where we are looking at two films from a very niche, very 70s genre known as trucksploitation that accompanied the CB radio craze of the 1970s. Breaker, Matt, what's your 20?
I'm on your 6, Fox 1 armed. Oh, no, wait, that's the wrong lingo. I mean, I'm in the rocking chair.
Matt, welcome back. How you been?
I've been well. Just busy. Lots of stuff going on.
You went on a fishing trip recently, right?
I did. I went trout fishing last weekend, and I caught a couple. It's the most beautiful place in the world up in Pennsylvania near State College.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of on a preserve,
on
a river there. Really, it's almost a creek. They call it's Spruce Creek. But it's loaded, absolutely loaded with trout, and we do catch and release. But we had a good time.
Great. So we're starting off our month looking at a very interesting artifact of the 1970s, the CB radio craze. Did your family have a CB radio?
Well, we didn't have a CB in the car or anything, but I did get a hold of a walkie-talkie that was on the CB radio bands. If you remember, there was kind of the main band. I think it was channel 9 or 19 or something like that. So I had an old CB like that. So the one time I got like enough guts to talk, some guy responded to me and was talking to me, and it was pretty uncomfortable. I was young, so my voice hadn't changed.
Pretty red-headed little boy. Want to ride in my truck?
I turned it off and never talked on it again.
You learned a very valuable lesson that day.
Yes, very much so.
Oh, I remember my dad had a CB radio. I want to say that his handle was maybe Dirty Dave or something like that. It just seemed like he would use it to listen to other truckers or other people up ahead giving warnings about police and traffic coming up ahead. What was really fun was at my grandmother's house, she had a police band scanner. When you're out in the country on a Saturday night and, there's no television to be had, listening to that radio was a lot of fun. And you pick up a lot of the police codes because she had a little police code cheat sheet so that she could tell what they were saying when they would start talking out the codes over the airways. That was fun.
I had the same experience. Everybody I knew that had a CB radio rarely talked on it unless they were going on a trip in a set of cars, and then they would just go to some random channel and then talk between themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it was really the domain of truckers, people who made their living on the road. It was Waze for the old days. That people would tell you that there's a speed trap ahead.
Yeah.
But more than once I heard of someone saying, no, it's clear. And it turns out that the policeman had a CB radio, was telling people it was absolutely clear while they were set up for a speed trap.
Wow.
So,
good times.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, who do we have speaking to us this week?
We have a listener, Steven Sad54, and he left us a 5-star review on Apple saying, great stuff. He goes on to say, and I will say, stick with me here because he had quite a lot to say, and I think both Chuck and I will blush with this. So, and I quote, the 60s brought about great change in music and culture. All of that flowed into the 70s, affecting the other great art form, storytelling in the form of motion pictures. The films of the 70s brought more realism and authenticity, more relatable emotional depth. Substance was created that left you leaving the theater thinking more about the people you saw and how it might relate to you. All of this brought forward through the imagination of young, unknown firebrands, actors and directors that are now household names. Chuck and Matt do more than just discuss these celluloid gems. They relate how some of these films affected them personally, how others are touchstones, landmarks of events of their lives. Insight and details of production are discussed, history of the stories that became the movie, the tricks of the trade that made these films feel also real, the work, the time, the joy, and the pain of the actors bringing these stories to life. Are Chuck and Matt experts? That's subjective. Though all have had movies in their lives in one form or another, they know a lot. Critics, they just offer their opinion, never marginalizing a guest's negative views of a particular film. Do they love 70s film? That's the point. Some guests fondly remember those days they lived through. Others want to share their new experience with others. So, hell yeah, they love the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a nice review. I'm sorry if I bumbled through some of that, but do you know someone who does not know about 70s movies? Are they sad and one-dimensional? Do people laugh and point their finger saying, they have probably never seen Logan's Run, or understand that there are not enough cats? They need to be more like Steven Sad 54, and I have the answer for them, the Cinematic Flashback Podcast. Have them listen to 2 episodes a week, and in no time, they will be the life of the party, always included in deep discussion and a veritable font of 70s movie trivia and anecdotes. Do not let your friends suffer. Get them on a regimen of the Cinematic Flashback Podcast.
Well, you know, I have a fever, a white line fever, and the only cure is more 70s movies.
Oh, man, that's funny. Steven Sad pointed out, we're not experts. We're just a couple of guys who love 70s movies. One of us is old enough to have basically lived through many of them, remember them in the movie theaters, and one of them's a little bit younger, but definitely more dedicated. That'd be you, Chuck. So,
okay, thank you.
we do like to prepare and do our due diligence. And when I say our due diligence, I really mean Chuck, because let's be honest, I usually just ride along and do voices. Nevertheless, let's move to our segment. How did this movie happen?
Matt, to understand why a movie like White Line Fever connected with audience, we've got to set the scene in America in 1975. So Vietnam had just ended. Watergate had wrecked trust in the government. There were gas shortages.
I've been in 2 gas lines already.
This morning?
This morning.
How long did you wait for the first
I've
one?
been in both lines over an hour, and I'm out of gas.
And that new 55-mile-per-hour speed limit was making nobody happy.
Historically, we've enforced the speed law from the safety aspect. The new law represents a departure from that concept. The reduced speed limit and our enforcement of that limit are a measure to help alleviate a very critical fuel shortage in this country.
And that's the America White Line Fever was made for. Director Jonathan Kaplan had graduated from NYU's film school, where Martin Scorsese was one of his peers and influences. After catching the attention of Roger Corman, Kaplan found himself learning the filmmaking business the Corman way, which is to say fast, cheap, low-budget exploitation films. Corman had a reputation for finding talented young filmmakers, just giving them that chance to direct. Directors such as Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese, Peter Bogdanovich, Joe Dante, James Cameron, all of them at some point passed through the Corman system. And I have to recommend to you, Matt, the book Roger Corman wrote called How I Made 100 Movies in Hollywood and Never Lost a Dime. This is a great book on the business side of making a movie in Hollywood, and it's incredibly entertaining because Roger Corman is just that kind of storyteller. My favorite part, though, of White Line Fever is how the movie got made. Columbia executive Peter Guber saw Kaplan attached to a movie called White Line Fever, and he figured that he was the guy who already had made a truck movie. The problem is, Kaplan's previous film was Truck Turner, which is not a truck movie. It was a blaxploitation film about a bounty hunter. But somehow the misunderstanding worked out and Columbia pushed the project forward anyways. Kaplan later said he was really making a Western in the vein of Sam Peckinpah, only with trucks instead of horses. He even casted Peckinpah veterans like Slim Pickens and L.Q. Jones. White Line Fever ended up becoming a surprise hit of 1975.
That is too funny. A blaxploitation movie becomes a trucksploitation movie.
Right?
And it definitely helped launch the trucker movie craze. And I'll admit, at the time it came out, I mean, I remember it. I did not understand why everybody was so excited about it, but it could have been that I was pretty young at the time. I didn't have my driver's license, so gas shortages, the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit were in the background for me. Certainly, I remember my dad being super frustrated about the speed limit. But I mean, honestly, we had a VW bus, and on its best day, loaded for a trip to Cape Cod, it could barely maintain 60 miles an hour, and it used no gas at all. So it's funny. I remember the gas lines, however, and there was rationing of sorts. If your license plate ended in an even number, you go get gas on certain days like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if your license was odd, then you had the other days. And most stations were closed on Sunday, so you really would back and forth. And then there were giant lines. And I remember going in the car with my mom on the giant line, and I would sit in the car. I mean, I was like 12 or 14. I would sit in the car. She would get out and go do some shopping or something or whatever close by to the gas station, and I would creep the car up in the gas line.
Were you actually sitting behind the wheel?
Oh, yeah. I could drive. My older sister was crazy. She taught me to drive the VW bus. I grew tall. In 8th grade, I was the same height I am now. So, I was big.
You're tall.
Yeah. So I'm like 6'1", and I was 6'1" in 8th grade. So my sister taught me to drive when I think I was in 6th grade or something. She taught me to drive the VW bus, which is actually a pretty forgiving thing to drive because you're sitting sort of in front of the wheels, so you can see really easily. So you can see, you don't have a big hood in front of you that throws people off. So it was really easy to keep it in the middle of the line. But I mean, that was my sister. She was crazy. That was my sister, Becky, who's 2 sisters up. So I have 4 sisters. I have 3 sisters that are older than me and 1 brother that's the oldest in the family. And she's the second one up from me, but she was always really good about showing me how to do things and whatnot.
Are we ready to dive into production details of White Line Fever?
100%. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, first, we need to step away for a quick break, and we will be right back.
Cinematic Flashback. Let the show begin. It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin.
Carol Joe is back. Jerry waited 2 long years. Now it's time to make a life for themselves. He's an honest trucker who won't make deals.
I mean, I don't haul that stuff, I don't drive, huh?
That's right. Just keep your mouth shut and do as you're told.
But it gets tougher for both of them.
I'm pregnant, Carol Joe. And I've been thinking I wish I weren't.
They force him to fight back, their way.
My name's Carol Joe Hummer. I come to get work.
And next time you just might not be so lucky.
Get!
But he won't quit.
Get up!
No matter what.
You're about to walk off a cliff, boy.
He's only gonna get you dead, man.
They got the muscle. They own the law.
You're under arrest for the murder of Dwayne Haller.
They terrify his wife.
Take the deal and let's get the hell away from here.
He's a working man who's had enough.
Deputy Dog, you know who this is. You call him and tell him I'm coming here.
Ride with Carol Joe on a trip you'll never forget.
Welcome back. We're going to get into the production details and then talk about the cast. White Line Fever was released on July 16, 1975 and distributed by Columbia Pictures. The film was made by International Cinemedia and the White Line Fever Syndicate. Jonathan Kaplan directed. John Kemeny was the producer. The film was shot by Fred Cohenkamp, and as a quick aside, there are some unexpectedly amazing long shots of the main truck, the Blue Mule, driving throughout the Southwest. Nicholas Brown edited the film, and music was by David Nichtern. White Line Fever had a budget of $1.4 million and brought in over $35 million. And as you might expect, this film has a 29% critic rating on Rotten Tomato with a 54% rating with the audience. So while it was not a hit with the critics, the audience was still buying tickets to watch Carol Joe take on a corrupt trucking system. Matt, who do we have starring in this film?
I mean, the main character, played by Jan-Michael Vincent, he played Carol Joe Hummer. He's an honest, independent trucker, just leaving the Air Force, needs a way to make money, and he wants to get married to his sweetheart, and he endeavors to get a very large loan to buy a truck. And trucks are very, very expensive. The tractors of the truck is very expensive. Jan-Michael Vincent's been in a number of movies. He was all the hotness in the 1970s, I will tell you.
I remember him from the TV show Airwolf. And you mentioned him once before a long time ago as a alternate casting. And at the time I thought, really? Jan-Michael Vincent? Holy cow.
Yeah.
I did not realize what an up and coming actor he was at the time.
He appeared in quite a few films, which is to his credit.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in The Mechanic, The World's Greatest Athlete, Damnation Alley, Big Wednesday, which I have not heard of, but I think it was John Milius' surfing movie.
We may have talked about this, but John Milius was kind of this, I will say he's a Renaissance director and he has lots of interest, one of them being surfing.
Yeah.
So he always wanted to make a surfing movie and he made Big Wednesday.
That's cool.
There you go.
I'll have to go check that out because it's probably good. Hooper, that's Hal Needham's stuntman movie. And of course, Airwolf. And I remember him from Airwolf as well. Really, we don't see much from him after 1986. I think he was in a few guest stars and stuff like that. He's probably on the Love Boat half a dozen times.
He probably made that voyage. I remember Hooper. That was with Burt Reynolds. We should probably come up with a stuntman month.
That would be good. Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Hooper is really good because Burt Reynolds is the stuntman at the end of his career. Jan-Michael Vincent is the young stuntman coming in.
Oh, cool.
I thoroughly enjoyed that film.
Well, there's a number of movies with stuntmen that would be fun. That would be fun to do, I think. There's a couple, so at least in the 70s.
He did struggle with issues of addiction, and eventually he passed away.
Yeah.
I think in 2004. Kay Lenz played his wife, Jerry Kane Hummer. She plays the title character Breezy in the film Breezy that was directed by Clint Eastwood. She also played Sandy Sinclair in the horror film House. I thought Kay Lenz was good. It seems like at the beginning she was going to play more of a role in the trucking business, but then she just becomes a background character to some degree, maybe.
At least it seems like to me, maybe more of her involvement in the film ended on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that her character steers the movie at certain plot points. CJ is a beneficiary of some of her actions that maybe he may not know about.
Yeah, I don't know. No knock on the actress. I'm sure she's wonderful. I just think it was written semi one-dimensional. It was a 70s movie. It was, I mean, obviously we know this is, like you were saying, a film that was made very inexpensively. $1.5 million is nothing, right? I mean, really, even back then, $1.5 million was nothing. And to make $35 million from it, I mean, this is a huge success.
Oh, big time.
Maybe sadly, because then a whole bunch of other movies along the same line came out, which were terrible. And, you know,
they varied in quality.
Yeah, exactly. And so one of those things that you're like, well, if they spent $2.5 million, maybe they would have been able to write a story that was a little more engaging and not so weird. But anyway, nothing against Kay. I think she did a good job from what she had to do. Now, we move on to the next actor who is one of my favorites, Slim Pickens, as Dwayne Haller. He's a veteran trucker and old friend of CJ and CJ's father. But I think things change as you go through the movie and you realize that maybe Dwayne is being driven by things other than friendship.
Dwayne was not the cowboy from The Getaway.
No.
I really liked the character in The Getaway.
Yeah.
Dwayne
No, he was more like a used car salesman.
Yeah.
He was kind of questionable.
Slim Pickens was one of the Peckinpah regulars.
Yeah, and he's in a ton. He's in The Getaway, obviously. We've already covered that on Cinematic Flashback Podcast. Look that episode up. It's a good one. Major Dundee. That's another Peckinpah film. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, Peckinpah, and I think we have some other actors in this movie that are in that one.
Yep.
The Ballad of Cable Hogue, which is another Peckinpah film. And then Dr. Strangelove, which is funny because Dr. Strangelove is just a crazy movie. Blazing Saddles, which is a hilarious movie.
Yeah.
The Apple Dumpling Gang, which is kind of a kid's version of Blazing Saddles, if you ask me.
Hey, look, I loved Apple Dumpling Gang.
No, I'm not decrying it. I'm just saying it was like a kid's version of Blazing Saddles.
That's what I was watching in the 70s. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you were 9, man. And then 1941, which is amazing amount of things to be in for someone he wasn't originally an actor, was Slim Pickens?
He was a radio guy.
Right.
The armed forces, and prior to that, he was rodeo guy.
Which is crazy. He's great in this film. Obviously, he plays kind of a questionable person in the movie, but still the actor, wonderful job on that.
Speaking of questionable guys, Buck Wessler. And if you thought that Dwayne Holler was the used car salesman, Buck Wessler is just, you feel like you have to go take a shower after you interact with him because he is just that slimy of a guy. But he's played by L.Q. Jones, who was another Peckinpah regular and was featured in films like Ride the High Country, Major Dundee, The Wild Bunch, The Ballad of Cable Hogue, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. He worked with Scorsese in Casino. He was in the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson. And this was an interesting piece of trivia that I didn't know about him, was that he wrote and directed the 1975 science fiction film called A Boy and His Dog, starring Don Johnson.
Yeah.
His birth name was Justice McQueen, but he adopted L.Q. Smith as his stage name after his character in his debut film called Battle Cry.
I want to talk about A Boy and His Dog a little bit.
Go for it, yeah.
I read that novel early, and it is a wacky science fiction novel.
I remember the movie being wacky.
Whoa, the book is far wackier. far wackier. Harlan Ellison he is one of my favorite sci-fi authors. He's got some really great books, and A Boy and His Dog is a good one. It's post-apocalyptic after a nuclear war, and dogs are bred to be intelligent. I think they have telekinetic powers to be able to communicate. Anyway, the film is crazy, but I highly recommend the novel that it comes from, although be prepared to be, don't listen to it out loud. Let me say that. So the character that plays the polished and corrupt head of the trucking syndicate, and he represents the corporate side of the system that CJ is fighting against, is Cutler, played by Don Porter. And I think it's played really well by Don Porter. He really comes off as being that sinister corporate wonk who money is the object and really nothing matters. So he was in quite a few films, starting all the way back in 1942. So at the time of White Line Fever, I mean, he was an elder statesman of the film industry. So he's in Night Monster in 1942, She-Wolf of London in 1946, 7-Eleven Ocean Drive in 1950, Gidget Grows to Rome in 1963. And that's where I remember him first. I believe he was Gidget's father. And he was really sweet in that movie, if you remember. Well, you maybe don't remember.
I don't.
I remember the Gidget movies because I had 4 sisters, so we watched the Gidget movies for sure. And then The Candidate with Robert Redford. He was Senator Croker Jarman. And then Mame in 1974. And we don't hear much from him after that. He was pretty old by that point. Do you know what happened to him after?
I don't, but he's one of these guys who always shows up on television programs as well.
Yeah.
So he has such a long and broad IMDb list.
Yeah.
You look through and you're trying to find some of the films that are kind of characteristics of the films that he did.
Yeah.
I think he was ever a leading man.
No, he's definitely a character actor, but he really played it well in this movie because he had to come off as not just wholly sinister, but somebody that you might invest in the company that he runs and unknowingly participate in hurting CJ and his family because you want to make good profits.
Do you remember the film Caddyshack?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, for some reason, every time I saw Cutler in the film, he reminded me of Ted Knight's older but meaner brother from that film.
That's funny.
The next guy was Dick Miller, who plays Birdie. His full name, well, we don't know the full name, but we see written on the side of his truck, it says R. and in quotes, Birdie Corman. So R. Corman, which is Roger Corman, because Dick Miller was another actor who worked with John Kaplan and Roger Corman. And Dick Miller was in a lot of Corman films. He was even in the original Little Shop of Horrors. He was in Piranha. The one film that always sticks out for me was his role in the Joe Dante film Gremlins. And Joe Dante's name actually gets dropped in this movie when Cutler is asking about his appointments near the end. And apparently later that evening, he had his dinner reservations confirmed with Joe Dante at 5 o'clock.
I love those little Easter eggs. Those are so fun.
I'm telling you, I got so much mileage out of that Roger Corman book. Again, I recommend that one a lot.
Probably try to get it so I can listen to it.
I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
When you first saw the character Clem, did you recognize him?
He looked really, really familiar. And then it came to me that he was the guy in the Karate Kid movie.
Yeah.
And he sweep the leg.
He was John Kreese. So
Right.
Martin Kove plays Clem. And what really throws you off is that he has jet black hair.
Right.
To me, I thought it obviously looked like a dye job.
Oh, yeah.
You could think of his black hair as a black hat. He hangs around with a guy with a matchstick who also wears a black hat. I mean, the characters in this movie are broadly drawn. You know who's good, you know who's bad.
Sure. Yeah. It's like black hats and light hats. We like to relate things from the 70s to nowadays. But honestly, there's a show out there called Cobra Kai, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of those guys moved into the future.
Yeah.
You know, Daniel LaRusso.
Older Daniel. Yeah.
It's really funny because kind of Daniel's kind of a slimy used car salesman. And the guy who's the bad guy, the kid who was the bad guy, he's all grown up and his life is on the rocks, but he's actually kind of the anti-hero of the show. I recommend it. It was I didn't watch all the episodes, but the ones I watched I really enjoyed. They were funny. That leaves us with one last actor to talk about. That's Sam Laws. What do you know about him, Chuck?
Sam Laws plays Pops Dinwiddie. Pops used to be a former driving partner of CJ's father. Now, the character of Pops Dinwiddie appears in other films that are made by John Kaplan. In Truck Turner, Sam Laws played Nate Dinwiddie. In Mr. Billion, he plays Pops Dinwiddie. He was also in Project X with Matthew Broderick. It's also directed by John Kaplan. He was in Heart Like a Wheel, directed by Jonathan Kaplan. So you see, he has a lot of works. He's a John Kaplan regular. Like so many of these actors, he had a lot of television work and was just a familiar face on your TV screen.
One of the things about this podcast that's really opened my eyes is that, as a working actor in Hollywood, sometimes you see sort of the superstars are in this and they get these giant paychecks and they might do something every few years and they get these massive paychecks. But really, the rank and file actors in Hollywood, they're like working all the time. They're making a reasonable wage. Yeah, they make more money than anybody because they have talent. But I mean, a lot of them are just nose to the grindstone, just working.
I would imagine that the majority of actors are not in the superstar, but they are in the I constantly have work. I'm on everything. And then I just go home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I
think there's a good amount of them. I know a lot of them get into voice acting because they really enjoy the gig. If you ever listen to some of the podcasts with like current actors who are also voice actors, they love their voice acting work because it's not real hard. They go home at the end of the day, right? They're not on set in Bangladesh or some crazy place. They're there. They go home, they have dinner with their family, and they come back and they voice, the Family Guy or something like that. And it's pretty cool. They make a lot of money doing the voice acting. They do like it.
Well, Matt, I think that wraps up all of the cast that we wanted to speak about. Why don't you let our listeners know what this movie is about?
A young Air Force veteran, Carol Jo Hummer, played by Jan-Michael Vincent, starts a business as the owner-operator of a 13-speed, 7.5-ton diesel truck, which he dresses up and names the Blue Mule. With his bride Jerry, played by Lenz, he sets off to Tucson, Arizona, where his old friend Dwayne, played by Slim Pickens, is the manager of a trunk company and can give him some work. But after Carol Jo realizes he will be carrying illegal cargo and refuses the assignment, he's beaten by a band of gangsters working for an organized group of criminals headed by Cutler, played by Don Porter. When Carol Jo's commitment to staying honest results in even further violent retributions from the trucking syndicate, he has no choice but to team up with other independent truckers to break Cutler's stranglehold and uphold the rights of decent working man.
I was fully expecting you to start off with "in a world."
In a world that needs independent truckers. A young Air Force veteran. Yeah, I guess I could do that. We've got a lot to say about this one, but first we're going to pull the rig over for a quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back with our thoughts on White Line Fever.
It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we are finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
You can find the All 80s Movies Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe and happy listening.
It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin.
Fellow kickers, this here's Carol Jo Hummer, and I'm commencing broadcasting to you today from my new bucket, which will from now on be known as the Blue Mule. We're in business for ourselves, me and the mule, and we aim to get our butts out of hock. So all you turkeys better watch out we don't get all the work.
Amen to that.
Happy honky's Blue Mule. Say, what's that you got between your legs, Sonny?
It's the Blue Mule of Happy Honky. Got a Ford WT9000 Cummins.
What are you, Hummer? Some kind of outlaw?
That's right. Owner-operator. Gotta operate to own.
Amen to that.
Welcome back. All right, from here on out, we're going to talk about our thoughts on White Line Fever, and it might inadvertently give some spoilers. If you would like to watch White Line Fever, it is available to rent at all of the usual locations.
Matt, had you seen White Line Fever before?
I think I had, and I probably forgot about it, which is basically what you're going to hear from me at the end.
I of course, this was obviously my first time. I reached out to one of my coworkers. He knows a lot about 70s films, and I asked him if he had heard about White Line Fever, and he goes, "Oh yeah, sure. You mean the movie with Jan-Michael Vincent and the truck?"
Yeah, we definitely all knew that White Line Fever was a truck movie. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you. I've never been a huge fan of Jan-Michael Vincent. Uh-huh. I don't think he has a lot of depth in his acting capabilities. That's just me. I know I did not go to the movies to see this in the theater because it would not have been a movie I would have been interested in. I wasn't a car guy. I wasn't really, a
CB radio guy.
No, sci-fi and the movies I enjoyed as a child were not along the lines of like muscle cars and stuff. I was surprised that I enjoyed American Graffiti because it was so much car culture kind of stuff, which just did not really interest me that much. I worked at a gas station. I really had a deep, abiding hatred for cars. At least, all the goofballs that would come in with their jacked up cars and the extra goofy stuff. I just never saw like aftermarket stuff on cars. Just does not float my boat.
During the recent truckers' strike, I talked with some Americans that the media seems to have overlooked. About how long have you been driving a rig like this?
About 15 years.
Do you work for a company?
No, I'm an independent.
Independent driver. That means you own your own rig.
Yeah, I'm in a bank.
Or what sort of investment does a rig like this take to own?
About $38,000.
I imagine it puts quite a bit of pressure on you making monthly payments.
My wife works.
What kind of work she do?
She's a bartender.
Well, how do you stay ahead in business? How do you get your loads lined up?
Oh, independent brokers, shippers. I don't get anything while I'm just sitting.
So if someone controlled the brokers and the shippers, they'd be controlling the trucking industry.
They do.
You told me before that you carry a gun with you. Is that true?
Right.
Why do you?
To protect myself. If someone tries to sneak into your cab, just show them the gun, and they'll mosey on down the road.
Just how far would you go to protect your rig and your profession?
You never know until you're put to the test.
Before I pressed play on this film, I had never heard of it. I did not know what I was getting into. I didn't even know what white line fever references. The movie opens up and it's kind of opens up like it did in Westworld, where you have this man on the street interview between these two guys, and they're just talking about the trucking strike, and the trucker is like, he's an independent owner operator. I kind of felt like maybe they were just setting up some verbiage to begin to introduce language of truck driving that people might not have known at the time.
No, I think you definitely have to intro for a very subject like this. If you're not in that trucker, if you don't have a CB radio, if you don't know what an independent operator is versus a corporate trucker, all of that was important to this movie. If you didn't understand that, you'd be like, what? Can't he just go work for some other company?
Right. And the idea of being independent just means that you have control of your own destiny. Right.
Yeah. Well, you also have a mortgage to pay on your truck, which is
sure.
That truck was more expensive than that shack they were living in, clearly. Right. Yeah.
They should have lived in the truck.
Well, I mean, they do, right? They have the little sleeper cab in the back. And,
they do have that.
Yeah. I mean, they spend a lot of time in the truck. So that's just the nature of the beast.
I thought this movie was, I don't know, I wasn't really sure what it was going to be. So I wasn't expecting it to be a serious film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way that it was.
Yeah. I would agree. It was, I expected it to be what it was, and it was. I will say that we didn't talk about this before, but there are some really fantastic long shots of the American West and the truck going through it, or one of the trucks, because I think we know that they used several different trucks to film, and also for some kind of across the nation publicity tour or something.
Truck, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool. I did love that. And it's cool because, you have maybe a $5,000 camera with a telephoto lens and a beautiful American West scene. And it's just classic, great, pictures.
Yeah, those scenes, I that really surprised me. So I could only imagine that maybe they took one of those extra trucks and they sent the second unit director out to film all of that.
Go get me some great scenes.
Yeah, and he comes back, and I don't think that some of those shots fit with the shots of the rest of the movie.
No, definitely not. But remember, it was only $1.5 million.
Yeah.
When the second unit came back, it's like, this is what you got. This is what you got.
This is
fit it in.
You have what you have here.
Yeah, we're not going out again. We're not doing reshoots.
And so the movie turns out to be, I don't know, everyone has described it that Kaplan was going out to make a Western film, but just with trucks instead of horses. But also it kind of became like a Norma Ray type of film.
Yeah.
Like, like I was expecting him to stand up and hold a sign to say Union.
Yeah. It was
definitely,
I can see how people would say it's like a Western because you have sort of the independent, almost like the independent bounty hunter, but the bounty he's seeking are the truckloads to be able to make his mortgage payment on the truck, right? So those are the bounties he's seeking. And then he has these corrupt individuals who are trying to, sort of fudge the system and whatnot, and he's doing battle against them. So it's definitely a trucker-esque, but then you also get into that Norma Ray stuff like you brought up. I think that's spot on.
There's no way I can oversell this film to anyone. I mean, it is what it is. It's not great cinema of the 70s, but the director does a pretty decent job telling you who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, almost to the point of it being a little stereotypical. I think I said something about a cowboy has a black hat on, right? So already, even though he already looks suspicious to the whole film, he's bad because he's got the black hat. And some of it was maybe a little bit too much on the nose.
Maybe so, but you're also talking about a movie that's going to be in the movie theater. People go up, get popcorn, get them back to their seat, use the bathroom, and they haven't missed anything. I hate a movie that if you miss one instant, like an instant, it changes the entire pallor of the whole film, right? And I've done that before because I always get up in the middle of movies and go to the bathroom or something. And if I'm at a movie theater, I can't hit pause. So I come back to the movie, and I've been in a movie where it's like, okay, sat back down. Then you're like, I have no idea what's happening in the rest of the film because something happened while you're in the bathroom. That's unenjoyable to me. And I'll be honest with you, it made so much money because that's not what's going on here. It's like you're in the film, you might be there with your sweetheart, maybe you're paying attention to the film, maybe you're not, but you haven't really missed a lot,
So this film is not going to ask much of you, right? Other than be entertained.
And I think that is exactly why you see the Rotten Tomatoes and the critics giving it middling score, if not low score, and people went to see it.
It's so different,
right? I mean, you can't argue with making that much money on a $1.5 million film. I mean, it made a ton of money. So there's something that was a nice, I think we can't discount the time in which it was released. Like we mentioned the gas shortage, we mentioned Watergate, we mentioned all of that stuff going on. People were looking for good and bad, right? We were clearly somebody's at fault, someone is not. And there's the good American guy is fighting the good fight, right? Remember, during the gas crisis, it's like, why are we having this gas prices? Basically, is OPEC didn't want to pump more oil, and they want to get more dollars per barrel, right? That was basically the core of the thing. OPEC was bad guy. What can you do? You can't really do anything about it. You were subject to it. So.
Who was your favorite supporting character in this film?
I think Slim Pickens. He was hilarious. I mean, he was not a good guy in the film. Obviously, we know that. We intimated that before the break, but we now know he was acting in his own self-interest largely, but also he was being extorted. He was in a bad position.
He was in a pinch.
But he never let anybody know. And he threw the star to the wolves. But he's still Slim Pickens. He's hilarious. He's in that giant Cadillac with like some girls.
I need a Cadillac with the bullhorns on the front of it. It wasn't a Cadillac. It was a silver Thunderbird.
Right.
It was what it was. Oh my gosh. Yes.
But it was a open top. It was a convertible.
Yeah.
So it was hilarious. But anyway, so Slim Pickens is definitely my favorite.
I was kind of saying how LQ Jones was a little slimy and greasy just because he was like, he was just, but I loved his character, Buck Wessler, because he was a good enough antagonist at the mid-level, right? He wasn't at the higher Cutler level that had the real power to put the squeeze on you, but he was the muscle on the street, and he had his gang with Clem and Matchstick Man.
Yeah.
I really liked him. I also liked Pops as well.
Yeah, sure. Now on the LQ bent, it was funny because in a fair fight, Jan-Michael Vincent, who weighed in at maybe 110 pounds, was beating that guy silly.
If that fight scene between Vincent and LQ Jones would have been in slow motion, it would have been perfect peck and pop. But I mean, he's throwing these roundhouses and just walloping him up, and I'm sure LQ Jones is going, why did I choose to wear leather tonight? I mean,
exactly. I
have no flexibility in this whatsoever.
I can't move. I can't get off the ground.
But LQ has the best weapon in the entire movie. He comes at him with a forklift. I mean, he's
that was funny.
To run him down, and
that was funny.
Death by forklift would have been hilarious.
That was very funny.
Let's talk about some of the action and the trucking in this movie. What was your favorite stunt or action sequence in the film?
I mean, obviously, everybody's going to point to driving through the GH in the front.
Okay, that's a given.
Yeah, that's a given. But to me, it was like sort of the most. I don't know.
That was the build up, right? That was the big grand finale.
That was the big release of the frustration, I guess. But I don't know. None of them really stand out more to me than that.
Yeah, I'm going to remind you of the scene.
Oh, when he climbs on top.
Yeah, CJ and Pops are driving out.
Yeah.
CJ climbs up on top.
Yeah, that actually, I remember that.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's barrel rolling. And then finally I don't know how he did this. he hangs on to the side of the truck, so his body is physically off the top, and he fires the shotgun
with one hand.
And that whole sequence was, again, if you were with us with Duel, it was filmed really low, so the trucks felt like that they were really, really, really fast.
Yeah, no, I do remember that now.
I thought the action felt very intense.
That was cool. I'll be honest with you, the coolest part was Jan-Michael Vincent the stuntman climbing on the roof of the tractor and jumping onto the trailer, which is no small distance. I mean, could be 10 feet. That is a leap. Then he rolls down and then he jumps off like you described, and then it shoots the shotgun and then they go off this thing. And that was cool. That was very, very cool.
Now, you had sent me a note about stuntman Buddy Joe Hooker. That was the stuntman for Jan-Michael Vincent.
Yeah, I'd sent you that. I just saw that on, it came up on my scan. You know how it is. You mention anything about something, and the next thing you know, on Instagram, you're getting...
Everything comes up.
I'm like, are you listening to me? Because clearly you are.
Not at all. Not at all. After watching the film, did you at all have any romanticized feelings of becoming a truck driver and hitting out on the open road?
I think the long haul truck driver's days are numbered. Sad to say, but a robot is going to do that job far better and far more safely.
Matt, I just had a great idea. Why don't you and I start working on a screen treatment for White Line Fever 2?
Robots.
Where we pick up with CJ and his wife now owning and operating a fleet of self-driven trucks.
Yeah, that would be good. But let's say we turn Jan-Michael Vincent doesn't make it in the trucking industry, goes back to night school, becomes this genius programmer, and he infiltrates the automated trucking industry so he can independently run his trucking and not get run off the road by the evil empire of robotic truckers.
Or maybe in a twist, he becomes the bad guy, right? He becomes the Cutler of this world. And then you have someone like Sylvester Stallone from Over the Top movie.
Yeah.
Now he's playing the Jan-Michael Vincent role of White Line Fever.
Trying to get all the trucks automated for safety. Meanwhile, Jan-Michael Vincent wants independent truckers to drive these things, and the trucks keep driving off the road and killing people.
And at the end, it's settled by an arm wrestling match, right? That would be the best. That would be the best.
Funny. Here's a fun question for you.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay. Uh-huh.
If you were naming your own big rig that you just had a $500,000 mortgage on,
ooh,
what would you name it?
Oh my gosh. Can I name it anything I want?
Anything you want.
I don't know. Thinking about what we're doing here, I'll call it the spoiler wagon.
Spoiler wagon. I have no idea what I'd name a truck.
I think maybe your rig could be called the French Connector. How about that?
I can only haul heroin.
Illegal drugs.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Okay. What is the most 1975 thing in this film?
Gosh, I think Jan-Michael Vincent's hair has got to be number one for me. And probably the amount of time he took to coif it.
It definitely has to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
For me, there is so much beer just casually being consumed at the office.
Yes.
Or anywhere in this film. Someone always has a bottle in their hand, or Jerry finds out that she's pregnant and she's also holding a beer at the same time. It's crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there was a lot of 1975 things. I did remember while I was watching it is all the cars. But if you look at the cars in the background, they're all giant American-made Cadillacs and giant gas guzzlers.
What about the one car that comes up to the golf course? It looked to me like it was 3 rows because the guy in the back seat had to lean over, and it looked like he was flipping his seat forward so the guy behind him could get out. This was a huge car.
A land yacht.
No wonder people were standing in line, to get gas.
I'm getting 7 miles to the gallon. We need to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Cinematic Flashback, let the show begin. It's a Cinematic Flashback, let the show begin.
Welcome back. So, Matt, do you mind if I take a little bit of creative licensing on our trademark question?
Absolutely.
Does White Line Fever keep on trucking, or did it have to take the runaway ramp? Where did it go for you?
I want to be clear. Through doing the Cinematic Flashback podcast, I've become more critical of films, which in the past I was not. So I do look at them a little more with a critic's eye. So from that side, I kind of agree with the critics with this film that it was not the cinematic juggernaut of creativity that many other films could be. In that case, I'm kind of like, but also I'm a person who watches movies, and it was enjoyable to watch it. It was not a hard slog. We have watched a couple movies that are like, wait a minute, I need to watch that again. It was not one of those. So it was fun.
No, one and done.
Yeah, one and done. It was a one and done. I will say that I think some of the character development's a little bit one-dimensional. I think Jan-Michael Vincent's wife and some of the compatriots, a compatriot gets killed, and it's sort of like, okay, we're really mad, but then his wife gets beat up, and then all hell breaks loose. So a little bit weird on that. To be honest with you, I recommend people watch it because it's a little bit like opening up an old picture album from when you were a kid and looking at old pictures and seeing some of the old, how life was lived back then, how things went. So that was really cool to watch that. So I like that part. Do I think it keeps trucking? I do think it keeps trucking for what it is. Let's not make it more than it is. It is an entertaining film, made a ton of money. I can see why. The actors had some fun in it. I don't think they didn't look like it took a long time to film. Nobody was digging in the depths of their soul to deliver an acting juggernaut. They were just doing the work. It was good. It was good enough, right? Good enough. So I say, yep, it keeps on trucking. Did not have to hit the runaway truck ramp. Never got going that fast. So pretty safe coming down the mountain. Didn't have to, just had to go into a few lower gears. No runaway truck ramp. How about you, Chuck?
I am not going to try and oversell this movie at all. And I think, just like you, I think Rotten Tomatoes score is probably pretty fair, right? You know, critics didn't like it, but people went to go and see it. But I will say that I enjoyed it a lot more than what I thought I was going to.
Fair.
And once I realized who John Kaplan was, and then I do remember reading his excerpts in the Roger Corman book, and I was starting to put things in together, I think I gained a lot more respect for what he was trying to do here. So, yeah, he's trying to make a Western with really clear-cut good guys and clear-cut bad guys. It just happens to have trucks.
Yeah, I think that's why it hit with fans. I think you hit the nail on the head.
I liked the second unit cinematography, maybe not the first unit cinematography. And I thought the stunt work was really, really good in the film. I mean, we talked about Fred Kohenkamp and the work that he did. And he had an incredible career, Matt. It included movies like Towering Inferno, Papillon, and later he did The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. We talked about Buddy Joe Hooker coordinating the stunts and doubling Jan-Michael Vincent along with Harry Lofton, who did the stunts work for the truck. I think what was really the most interesting lasting impact of that final stunt where he drives the blue mule through the GH logo was that last year, Rob Mariana is the host of the Speed Channel series American Trucker. He was discussing plans for a documentary project, a crowd-funded documentary project that would recreate the famous Blue Mule glass house stunt with Mike Ryan and Buddy Joe Hooker. So again, this isn't some lost masterpiece of 1970s cinema. I do think it's a nice little gem. So for me, White Line Fever keeps on trucking, and I don't think it needed to take the runaway ramp as well. Matt, any final thoughts?
No, just to say I agree. I think you really put it very well. I am in 100% agreement with you.
That wraps it up for our review of White Line Fever. Join us in 2 weeks as we keep on trucking with Sam Peckinpah's Convoy from 1978, starring Chris Christopherson, Ally McGraw, Burt Young, and Ernest Borgnine. If White Line Fever felt like an homage to Peckinpah's westerns, next time we get to see what happens when Peckinpah himself tackles the similar material, but now in a post-Smokey and the Bandit world where truckers have become full-blown pop culture icons. And somehow, we're going to explain how Convoy would eventually help shape Christmas music. Yes, really, you're going to want to hear that story.
Christmas music. I'm interested to hear about that. Because bands, we're going to cover the Convoy. We want to thank you for taking the time to tune in. If you've seen White Line Fever, reach out and let us know your thoughts. You can find us on Facebook or leave us a message over at cinematicflashback.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you've been enjoying the show, tell your friends and family about what we still proudly believe is the best podcast dedicated to 1970s cinema. Join us next time as we hop back into the Wayback Machine and head once again into the 1970s for another classic. Until then, keep the hammer down, and we'll see you next time.
Where every flick left a trace. Come on and flashback to the tales untold.
You know, you get fat, Dwayne.
Oh, shut up.